Okay, let's get started. Yeah, sure. So hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for this infrastructure panel. And first off, a big shout out to edX3's team, Paulina and Oli. Thank you for putting together this. Yeah, let's dive in. So as we know, the blockchain space is moving at lightning speed. Bringing it with it is a fresh challenges and big opportunities, especially when it comes to layer 2 solution. So today we are lucky enough to be joined by some of the sharpest minds and builders who are leading the charge in developing and scaling blockchain. So before I jump in, I'd love to go around the room to have each of the panelists introduce themselves. And let's set up the vibe to get to know the voices behind this trailblazing projects. Go first.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Laurent Castillo. I'm the architecture VP at Ledger. Just to give you a little bit of context, Ledger, we are a hardware wallet, fairly well-known hardware wallet company in the space, hopefully. I hope most of you have a hardware wallet with you when you interact with your blockchain. So we are basically trying to secure all the use case and all the interaction of users with a crypto ecosystem, actually. And it might be surprising for a hardware wallet company to be at a panel on infrastructure, but I think one of my main point actually is that hardware wallet and really wallets in general should be considered as the last mile of any kind of blockchain project, and we should really work together so that any kind of new use case on the blockchain is actually considering the wallet side of the equation when trying to reach your end users. That's all.
Hey, 1, 2, 3. Hey, my name is Slava. I'm CTO of dRPC.org. Basically, we're building infrastructure for the multi-chain future. We support builders, who need to access the blockchain state, and our competitive advantage is that we support almost 80 plus blockchains. So I think we're a pretty good fit at this event, which may generate few new blockchains, which we will support. So that's it.
Hi, my name is Ming. I'm the chief scientist at ZKM. We developed a ZK VM called ZK MIPS. So it's a zero-knowledge virtual machine for the MIPS architecture. And our goal is to build a universal L2 because for us, all the proofs are MIPS proofs. So this universal L2 will bring what we call a unified native liquidity. And I hope this will solve a lot of problems for fragmentation of liquidity and also the applications beyond financial assets.
Cool, and hi everyone, my name is Bogdan. I'm one of the co-founders and CTO at Tenderly. So Tenderly is a full-stack infrastructure platform for Web3 teams, which means nothing. It sounds like a Wikipedia definition if you look at it that way, but what does that actually mean? We have development tooling, observability stack, and then also infrastructure products like the fastest RPC node on the market, a simulation platform that you probably saw in products like Safe and hopefully some others as well, and then also virtual testnets, which is like a staging environment that dApps use to test out their applications. Why am I on this panel is because most of the logos that you see around the conference, we're either talking with them or we already support them in Tenderly and by extension support their developer ecosystem to be successful. So there.
Yeah, great. All right. So let's set the stage for the conversation. I will be posing a few questions and touch on the key challenges in blockchain infrastructure. Feel free to jump in with yourselves and build on each other's perspective. So the first question is going to be the liquidity fragmentation across multi-chain. So with the various blockchain ecosystem, particularly in EVM and non-EVM chains, liquidity fragmentation has become a significant challenges impacting the trading efficiency and the user experience. So what solution are available and the best practice to bridge these fragmentations? And how could protocols to evolve offering a more unified and efficient solution? Anyone?
I can start.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, like the best solution would be to start attacking this problem for real. I mean, like we've seen a lot of the things happening in this like space with intents and like chain abstraction stuff, but I still think for some reason Ethereum leadership actually spends more time on trying to increase TPS and like changing consensus layer. While I think the biggest problem right now is actually not that Ethereum is, lacking TPS compared to Solana, because neither Ethereum nor Solana hit the TPS limit. For example, if you take for what Arbitrum claims that they can process tens of thousands of TPS, they don't have that. Base also don't have that, and yeah, we're still for some reason trying to increase it, while we don't have any use cases to fill the blocks. So I think and actually start treating basically I wouldn't say it's liquidity fragmentation, I would call it UX fragmentation seriously, and basically putting it into the center of the discussion would probably help.
Yes, I think the fragmentation is actually intrinsic to the very idea of blockchains. So we humans can easily see different blockchains, Bitcoin, Ethereum, but if you think from a point of view of a blockchain protocol itself, it's very siloed, right? Bitcoin doesn't know, it shouldn't know the existence of other blockchains. There's no Ethereum in the world of Bitcoin, and vice versa. I think this problem can only be solved if we can build a bridge. Well, this is a different kind of bridge of consensus, but the bridge we're seeing today this actually does not do that, right? The bridge is not bridging for consensus. It's just a bridge for asset transfer that's very insecure. So the source and destination blockchain that you're trying to bridge, it's actually a third external entity. It doesn't bridge any consensus. The solution, I think, is to turn the world of blockchains upside down, which is you don't really use blockchain, I mean L1 blockchain, as a consensus layer as it used to be, but as a consensus of witness, consensus of verification. So transactions happen on a universal L2, which we can support because we're building a zero-knowledge virtual machine that's neutral, right? It's a MIPS. So every virtual machines for smart contracts out there, they all have to compile down to some machine code, right? So for us, it's MIPS, EVM, MoveVM, or even C++. For us, it's all the same. It's the same proof, but the same kind of machine architecture. So in that way, for us, it's not just L2 on this blockchain or another blockchain or EVM or MoveVM. For us, it's one L2. And the L1 will be a layer for you to post your proof for verification and for settlement. In that way, you can build what we call a unified native liquidity. So this will fundamentally solve the liquidity fragmentation problem. So that's our unique take. We have a name for it. It's called entangled rollup. It's a cross-chain rollup solution. In our world, there's no bridge. It's a bridgeless bridge.
A bridgeless bridge. I like the name. Yeah, bridgeless.
Yeah, bridgeless bridge. Yeah.
So essentially, you have literally zero skin in the game for this conversation. So for this particular question, so I can only give a personal opinion of mine. I think talking about liquidity fragmentation, it's different if you're talking from a high-frequency trading perspective or me as a user. I, as a user, I mean, the user experience is bad, but I don't care waiting 2 minutes to bridge over somewhere and change money, or using Uniswap X. It will be settled on multiple chains with the intents and all of the other stuff. I don't particularly care all of that happening as part of the same block. So as a user, I don't particularly care. If I was running a high-frequency trading firm, I would probably optimize to have everything inside of a single block on a single chain. And to be completely honest, I'm not that deeply enough into space to have an opinion about that. And the problem with liquidity fragmentation, which I think is important that you people usually don't talk about, is that we're putting a bunch of these assets like the USDCs, USDTs, and all of these others across all of these chains, sprinkling them, not even bridging them, but actually issuing them there. And the problem now is that, let's say, I don't know, we want to fork a particular chain because the community got split in two, because the liquidity is so fragmented and we consider all of these chains as equal. basically which fork USDC picks or which fork USDT picks, that's the fork that's going to win, because you don't have DeFi without of these. And I think we're ending in this very strange, invisible chokehold to a few players because we have so much fragmentation right now. It can either be solved with intent, so all the other stuff, which people much smarter than me are working on, and I'm not going to argue that they understand how all of that works, or by actually consolidating the liquidity physically on these chains. That's my opinion. I have nothing else.
Great, great. Yeah, I agree on the intent part. I think that will be very interesting, especially for TradFi. Yeah. So the next question is going to be, should you have your own rollup? So this has been increasingly more discussed. And what are builders weigh in when they decide whether to build their own rollup or stick with existing one? And what's the potential upside or pitfalls of going this route? I know DKM just mentioned they have this entangled rollup. And any other ideas? Would you like to continue a little bit more?
I have idea. Like, please build more rollups because we will sell you our services for those rollups. Like, that's great. Please, one more rollup.
So I have a lot of skin in the game, I think, similar to Slava here. I think it's first really important to differentiate between an ecosystem rollup and an app chain. So if we define an ecosystem rollup as a rollup where most of the block space is used by multiple actors, like hundreds of actors, let's call it an ecosystem chain. And then for app chains, it's the whole block space is used maybe by 2 or 3 companies. A good example of the first one is Base. The good example of the second one is Zora. Like, Zora has additional apps, but most of the block space is used by Zora. And not even completely. I mean, it was mentioned in the previous question as well. So I don't think we should have hundreds of ecosystem chains. I think we should have thousands of app chains. Coming back to the liquidity fragmentation part, liquidity fragmentation isn't an issue if you're moving images or if you're playing a video game on a particular app chain or stuff like that, because you don't really need billions of dollars in USDC or a Uniswap deployed over there or whatever. And I think those things should be app chains. Anything that shouldn't be an app chain probably also doesn't need a blockchain and can use a MySQL database, more or less. Personal opinion. For the ecosystem chains, I think given enough time, we're going to see only a few players win, because never in the history of tech we had an oligopoly with like 300 winners. We usually have an oligopoly with like up to 5. So I think it would be foolish to think it would happen otherwise in our space. And yes, I think you should, if you're a DApp, before it was you deploy to mainnet and then you deploy to an L2. I now think that the natural gravitation, or what will naturally happen, especially with DeFi apps, will be, okay, I start on my laptop, then I deploy probably to an L2 now because L1 gas prices are high. And then when I get enough critical mass and actually prove my product is useful, then I deploy an L3 maybe, or my own L2 to do these things.
Yeah, let me add this from an engineering and deployment point of view. I actually, are favoring the thousands of rollups, and each app should have their own rollup. And also, you should be free to choose your own VM and language, because the most important thing for app is not performance or even the TVL. That is the users and the developers. Well, without developers, you can't bring the users. And to attract more developers, you need to foster a kind of engineering ecosystem. So, for example, you're home to Rust developers or Go developers, for that matter, and you're free to do so. Or even for like C++, you were bringing maybe a security application and try to bring them on chain. So you should be free to engage your developers. So I'm all for that. But the traditional approach is that if you do that, you have a fragmentation, right? Because each L2 will just divide the DVL. But I think universal L2 is that you can free to do all your language and higher level language and VMs, but the proof should be like low level, like for example MIPS, because that's touching the metal. Whatever like EVM, MoveVM, you still need to compile and build a binary, right? And if we can build the proving service, right? All these like hardware accelerated ZPU and then unified on the touching the metal, traditional architectures like a MIPS, or that the binary, like you can take 20-year-old binary and generate a proof. I think that's the way to go. And all my friends here, they can offer their service on this traditional hardware and hardware solutions, providing services, and don't worry about fragmentation of liquidity, because it's all unified under this universal L2.
So I'll be the contrarian on this one. so please don't do too many rollups, or at least too many, as you said, ecosystem chain. Because in the security world, we have a saying which is don't roll your own crypto, by cryptography, not cryptocurrency, sorry. But in that case, that definitely don't try to do your own ZK system by yourself, and please rely on existing well proven ZK system, because it's a really complex issue, and if you're not a cryptographer yourself, it's better to rely on existing primitives. And honestly, the fragmentation we see is becoming really a nightmare for wallets, to be honest. Either app chains or ecosystem chains, every single one is actually creating a fairly big load on wallets to integrate, and wallets tend to be the central endpoints where the user comes to interact with blockchain. So if your app chain or ecosystem chain is actually not integrating well with wallets, it won't be actually it won't exist from the perspective of end users. So I think it's important to actually be a little bit nice with the last mile of the ecosystem, and make sure that whatever new blockchain you deploy plays well with the existing wallets actually. So that's.
Okay, so Viacheslav, do you have any opinion on this? I mean, comments, because right now we have different opinions. You're saying more or less.
You
right?
maybe like
I think
my irony maybe wasn't read, but yeah, I wasn't meaning like that we need more rollups. Of course, like we will sell you definitely all the stuff we can for new rollups, but in my personal opinion, of course, this as I said, like I've heard a lot of opinions from my colleagues right now, but as I mentioned earlier, I think that right now we have this fragmentation issue, and I think it's a social issue. It's not an engineering issue, because I think there is like at least 10 different ways to solve it, like from universal rollups to, I don't know, based rollups to intents to like chain abstraction to account abstraction, and like something maybe that I forgot. We have an engineering engineering ideas how to solve it. The problem is that everyone just hypes their own stuff, and we still cannot somehow to arrive like there were some great initiatives like RIP rollup. I think something proposals, but maybe the name wasn't really great.
I think it's roll-up improvement proposal or something like that.
Yeah, but I think maybe they choose the name wrong, because I haven't heard from them anything since the announcement. Maybe they are rest in peace also. So like I think like this is the problem we should discuss, like how to bridge the gap for users, because as a user I don't care like bridge is like centralized, decentralized, bridgeless, non-bridgeless. I care that I can buy my meme coin, or I don't know, like pay for services or for something, and I don't want to care about which rollup my money is on are on. But currently, if we make more rollups, like the problem only gets worse, and we do not arrive at any solution, and even making the things worse. But from what I see right now, the sentiment in the industry completely different. It's like because I would personally love you guys to ask, what do you think about name chain? Like ENS domains.
That's actually one of the ones that I can stand behind.
Yeah, like I personally would like to heard, because like I haven't dug deep, but like when I see that the service that actually should solve like name fragmentation does their own rollup, Come on, why? Shouldn't you be on the each rollup yourself, not building your own?
Yes,
rollup?
and that's what they're actually doing. So that's the interesting thing. So you register a name chain, and then they message pass for resolution to other chains. But it has to happen somewhere. And on Ethereum mainnet 2 days ago, registering an ENS would cost around $60. So that's the idea. You would just move it elsewhere. It's similar to what WorldCoin did, by the way, for their IDs. So they would before replicate them from the Ethereum mainnet, and then I think at some point from Optimism, if I remember correctly, to other chains. And now the World chain is the one where all of when the orb scans you forever, pushes
Why should you do your own chain? Like, can you do Arbitrum or Base? Like, their transaction costs there like less than cent, I guess, or something. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, when you say like it's more like a social issue, do you think it's becoming more tribalism? I do think that each rollups they are trying to accommodate different like data and different user scenario, right? Some data they don't really care about the the decentralization, and you just post data on the settlement layer. And some they actually do. I think I kind of agree with you. We should have more rollups, and then it's more like Darwinian, right? Who's gonna survive? Who's gonna accommodate more users?
experiment.
Right? Yeah. It's kind of experimental, and who can accommodate more dApps, right? So this is my sharing.
Yeah, I just wish that Solana wouldn't win this race with us, because like they kind of also in this race for users. So whether like we compete for the user, rollups compete for the users, you should remember that there are other chains that do that too. And if, for example, for me would be like, or for some user would be easier to transact on Solana, use Solana apps. So I would just do that, and all rollups will die. That also is a possible outcome.
Yeah. Okay. Would you mind that add a little bit more?
So like currently, people who are building new asset classes and new type of use case, they go everywhere just because they're trying to reach the customer, and the end user is actually preferring one chain or the other, and not really because it makes sense technically to actually pick a roll-up solution. So sometimes. Personally, I get the feeling that we should spend more time. I agree with actually looking at whether existing blockchains are good support for the new use case and the new asset class, rather than immediately going to a new rollup because it puts you here, puts your name out. Actually, that's.
Yeah, that's the opinion from our customer, right? Okay, got it. So the next question is about the wallets. So that's wallet as a integral part of the blockchain infrastructure. So as a layer 2 and the classical infrastructure, so we are often talk about nodes and networks. So, but I would want to have a highlight about the wallet, which is the last mile. And I think wallet are not only endpoint, they are essential infrastructure. So how do you think as layer 2 we could elevate or support the wallets? And what kind of innovation would make the interaction smoother? I know it's an old topic. Everyone's talking about that, trying to onboard next million or billion. I think it's quite different with the scales, right? Would you mind share first?
I can start with that one for sure. So definitely, as I mentioned, the wallet, we should really consider them as part of the overall infrastructure, because they're really the main access point of users with the interaction with any kind of protocols or assets. And we see prime time the UX difficulties created by fragmentation. So as you mentioned, actually, users don't really care about. They only care about the digital asset they have. They don't really care that much about the type of blockchains that they have those assets on, except for the one who are really keen on understanding the underlying technology and underlying security, trust they put in the blockchains themselves. And so. With the fragmentation that we have now, you have a situation where you might have your USDC, USDT, or USD or whatever in many different blockchains. The bridges are not transparent yet, because they are so some of them, let's say the speed of the bridge is really highly depends on the bridge technology itself. The price they're not free actually, so you lose money every time you actually switch blockchain. How do you explain that to users when they just see basically that they have USDC somewhere, for instance? So this is really something we need to to solve as an industry. So as you mentioned, there's many different solutions to that. We don't have really a preferred solution as wallet maker. It's just that as a kind of the entry point of the user experience, it's really important to work out with wallet any type of solution that actually requires some kind of user interaction. So for instance, bridges currently they are not transparent for end users. We have as Ledger need to build a way to display to the user what's going to happen when they actually transfer from one blockchain to the other. So this is definitely something we are keen on working with the rest of the ecosystem, but a very complex problem to solve at scale, because it's not really about one or two assets that we're talking about, but tens of thousands of assets that are in this category actually. So.
Sure. And next, would you mind?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say because I'm not really connected with wallet somehow. So, but the only thing that like my opinion, personal again, like seeing like some hype about account abstraction, I think a year ago. One of the things that struck me is that actually not a lot of blockchain developers think about wallet developers. When, for example, during this, I don't know, I forgot all the time the numbers of Ethereum proposals, but 4557 or something like that. That's the account abstraction with the previous one. Where? Huh? 337, yeah, probably. Which basically adds some additional API for bundlers, stuff like that. So, and while everyone tried to arrive to the same, and it was actually chain agnostic, which was the great stuff. But at the same time, different rollups were building native account abstraction, and I was asking them like, so like, but don't you do understand that each wallet would have to support your native account abstraction, and their resources are not infinite, and there is a world where some of the wallets will support like part of the chains, other will support other part of the chains, and it adds up to the UX disaster, and everyone's like, well, the wallets will manage. And like, okay, guys, if you say so. So I think like developers, blockchain developers, and rollup developers should start thinking more about those very important guys at wallets, developers who kind of also are not omnipotent and omnipresent.
Yeah, and especially you have to consider that completely right. And if you create a full decentralized blockchain and you have only one wallet that is able to access your blockchain, is it really decentralization? If there's only one single piece of software that is able to coordinate your users with your use cases, that's not really something we believe in. So that's why it's definitely important to work out with wallet. Or we can more easily support all of those use cases up to the wallet actually. And honestly, it's even worse for our wallet because we have even more constraint on the way we build things in the wallet, so makes it a bit more complex for our wallet. So
Yeah, we don't have a skin in wallets, but can I ask when will like wallet support like ZKVM someday?
just for wallets or even our wallets, actually, it's the underlying blockchain technology is not that important. So ZK or whatever consensus or execution layer you care about, it's not that important. What's important is actually the authorization that users give on your blockchain, and all blockchain have some kind of authorization mechanism that ends up needing to be signed by wallets, but more importantly, displayed to user before they approve the authorization. And this is the complicated part that we have currently, is that with the multiplication of use cases, assets, and everything, it becomes more and more complex to handle the display part of the user of whatever happens on the blockchain, actually, on whichever blockchain you're interacting with. So ZK, we are very agnostic to that as wallet makers. It's really more about the way you authorize transaction on your new rollup that becomes critical to work with wallet.
Yeah.
For wallets as infrastructure, I agree. We don't give enough credit to wallets of what they're doing. I think there's two parts of this conversation. So one thing is what will become table stakes in the next 1 or 2 years, and then the second one is the differentiation between wallets. The thing that I think will become table stakes is the clear signing thing. I mean, mentioned by you. Simulations is also very important. Like, do I actually want to send this transaction? Like, will I get rugged, etc. The ability, which is still isn't fixed, and is I think actually the failure by the JSON RPC. I'm not saying RPC providers, but JSON RPC as a thing of not being able to serve data efficiently, but being able to self-serve, adding a chain. Because if you remember before, adding a chain to MetaMask was just adding a JSON RPC endpoint, and that's it. Now it's much more complex. What you actually want to show. Am I showing my Sablier positions? Am I showing my Aave loans that I have? Am I showing? So all people are expecting more and more of these things to be table stakes in wallets, and a bunch of these other things. And then if we assume all of them are secure, it's the differentiation part. So the way that I look at it, at least, is like, I know I will be incorrect in saying this, but this is how I think people map it out. MetaMask is the first one. Ledger is the first hardware one. Family is the fun one. Zerion is the one that had the portfolio tracking. And a bunch of these, like Uniswap wallets, is the Uniswap one. So all of these have a thing where it's differentiation, what they're best for. I'm scared that we end up with 300 wallets in the future. I really don't want this to replicate me going between my bank accounts and sending Swift payments to my own, to myself. But the UX right now in Web3 is very similar. So at least we got the same TradFi experience, and that's it. And I think that's only by infrastructure providers such as dRPC, us, and a bunch of others trying to add a non-infinite money solution to wallets to be able to do what they're doing, hopefully in a decentralized way. And right now, I think it's only possible in a centralized way. So.
Yeah, I think this is a more like a B2B2C problem questions. I used to work for like a GameFi platform, so I think we should treat wallet as like a funnel. You convert it by the convert rate, right? So probably a lot of people's first wallet is the Castillo with exchange. That's how you onboard, the fiat, and then you get more interested, and maybe you want to trade some coins on DEX. Then you shift it to Uniswap. And I feel what Laurent said, I think from his perspective, it's more from the cold wallet, which is really like from the builder ground. I can see there's a lot of struggles and there's questions there. And there's hot wallet, and there's so many MPC, AA, and for the GameFi I just referring to, a lot of things we do is trying to automatically generate at the back end. You just social login. Right now, maybe it's not possible for Google, and some of they kind of blocks API. But this is what we used to do if we are talking about onboard billions of users. So then we got more like intermediate, and the funnel gets smaller and smaller. And I think you couldn't expect people to just jump straight forward to MetaMask. Even for me, the first time to try MetaMask, yeah, it's scary, like a long string there, right?
But I think it's also like, if I assume we got an influx, at least of number of wallets, maybe not number of users, and that wasn't done, unfortunately. I'm a huge fan of Privy and a bunch of these other Decrypt and a bunch of these other teams, but that was actually enabled by passkeys on the phone, which was then used. The next billion users, no, none of us will solve it. It's going to be Apple buying one of us and solving it. I mean, no, but I know it's an unfortunate truth, but the distribution channels aren't there. The only way that we can do it is by showing specifically how this thing is exclusively better, but then competing against someone with an infinite amount of money is also a very hard thing to do. I think that as a space, if we do it and force these giants to do it, we're successful and we succeeded. I mean, it doesn't have to be the one of us if we all truly believe in the space and what we're trying to do. I think this is much larger than any of us on this panel, in this room, in Bangkok right now, etc. So.
Yeah, it comes down to how much privacy you would like to give in, right? It's the same as social media, like how much data you would like to give in order to enjoy the services. So yeah.
I think we should put, how much time do we have? Can I go on a 1 minute tangent? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I come from Serbia. So during the 90s, very shitty part of history, don't Google it. But anywho, we had a huge problem with banks and all of the other stuff. For me, why I think at least crypto vibe with me, I remember as a kid, my mom, we didn't have a lot of money at a certain point in our lives, so our uncle would send us money over Western Union at that point, and I remember it was like, you would get 500 euros, and they would take like a cut of 70. So even as a kid, I just felt, I maybe wasn't sure what you can buy with those 70 euros, but it felt like a huge part of those 500. Similar situation, so fast forward 17 years or whatever, from that point on, I was trying to angel into a company. I was blocked because I'm in Serbia, and I couldn't do it, but via USDC on Ethereum mainnet, I did it like in a few seconds. And this was, by the way, after a back and forth of like 3 or 4 weeks with different banks, Swift Relayer in Germany, etc., where they said it cannot be done. It wasn't me giving up. Us showing to people, and this is why, by the way, blockchain is used in Argentina and all of these other countries. It's not because US has problems, it's because these smaller countries have problems. If we show to the people how you can do this in a privacy-centric way, without leaking any data, without setting the expectation that you need to give your data to these companies for them to preview a service, and then there's a critical enough mass of people pointing, hey, I want to have the thing like people in Argentina have. I want to have the thing. I don't want to be followed. I want the thing like it was in the opening remarks ceremony. I want my ID to be in a decentralized and privacy-centric way because the voter ID stuff that's happening now in the US or whatever. So if we give a lot of these examples where people can actually go point to enforce them, these larger companies to do it in a privacy-centric way, etc., I think we succeeded. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. So Ran, I know you're running like crazy traffic in Bangkok. Could you introduce us a little bit? And as a DEX, you're one of our largest category of customer. So would you mind to share a little bit what's your expectations for L2, especially we just discussed about the fragmentation. I would like to hear your thoughts.
Sure. I'm Ran, co-founder of Orderly. Orderly is a perpetuals protocol, omni-chain. We believe in the omni-chain future. Unify liquidity across 8 chains, soon to be 9, and we'll be the first one to deploy, share liquidity between Solana and EVM chains by the end of this month. So around 8 different, so that includes L1s, L2s, alternative L1s. We actually have our own L2 that rolls up to ETH, built using OP. It's the Orderly chain, but it's just kind of a ledger that settles all the trades. So then we've gone through sort of the whole gamut of developing on L1s, L2s, EVM, non-EVM, even moving towards the move ones. I mean, to us, there's all types of nuances, and we even tried developing ecosystems for one of the L1s that kind of incubated us. I think, like to the developer, it's more about the ecosystem as a whole, and then I think the tech has to be kind of good enough, unless it's like 10x better than the others, right? Like now we're looking for solutions to put our matching engine, which is very high throughput, on the blockchain. And just some stats, we processed over $86 billion in volumes in the last year across 65 perpetuals markets. These days we're trading about 200 million a day on average between 30 plus builders on top of us. So then we're just looking for low-cost way of putting everything on chain, just like centralized exchanges. It cannot sacrifice performance for the sake of decentralization because traders don't care. But at the end of the day, we want to have this totally open-sourced ecosystem where people can build and contribute. And we think it'll sit on many blockchains, but with unified liquidity. So it cannot be scattered liquidity. I think that's kind of the way of the future. Sort of in the realm of DeFi, just to resemble how CeFi works, right? It needs to have like a Binance-like experience, if not better, which I think actually can be better because you can aggregate liquidity and yields on chain, but it cannot just have like the poor UX and scatter liquidity that we have now and kind of high cost and latency.
Yeah, great. I think just 1 year ago is like not discussed or feels like not possible to put in on the order book fully on chain and also the matching engine. Right now I know like several exchanges working on it. We are truly become real DeFi, not another TradeFi on chain. So the time is limited. We have one last questions. So I think we couldn't really avoid this buzzing word AI. So what's the AI impact on infrastructure need and liquidity management? So AI is weaving itself into blockchain from the analytic to trading and the predictive modeling. So earlier, our CEO at Reddio just demoed there's a on-chain AI inferencing on-chain. So this is one of the perspective aspect we are working on. I know like CKM also working with some AI projects, and I would like to hear some of you guys have any opinion of the vision of this part. Would you like to start?
Yeah, let me start with that. So right now, like blockchain, crossroad blockchain, crypto is concerned mostly with financial assets, but I see a future that we can deal with more data with all these like different kind of consensus on data. So data consensus is kind of different than just a financial consensus because you can't have a big consensus of all points of view of people and the data they generated, which we can call like point of view data. So what this has to do with blockchain and crypto is that crypto can be the ultimate consensus that can have a universal sort of consensus as a last outer boundary or shell of consensus, and within it you can have different clusters of consensus between a group of people with diverse point of view, and it can work as a financial economic system to kind of connect every point of view, and this can be the ultimate contribution of Web3 to the biggest outer world, because financial transaction is still limited in the human activities, because not all value is financial. So I think this is definitely a very interesting and narratives going forward for the whole Web3 world.
Any thoughts, guys?
I'm not in AI, so no thoughts.
I
to
have
give.
a very hot take.
Please
Can I?
do.
Yes, we will see. I think my prediction is we will see. If we AI is very vague term, but if we're talking about large language models, we will see zero useful products that are based like some LLMs based on blockchains, or in any way, when we're trying to put inference or training data on chain, we will probably see zero interesting outcomes. Because there is no real need for decentralization when you're doing machine learning, and machine learning actually was doing really great without crypto. It will do without crypto great. The only thing that I can see about AI and blockchain is the governance. Somehow we can probably try to govern some ways of how we think about common sense and good and bad things on the blockchain. Probably we won't be able to do, because every time when I heard something about DAOs, I think it's like it's hell, like, and people who do that, they live in hell, because like it's the hardest problem in the blockchain to do decentralized autonomous organization correctly. But still, I think it's like we probably would like to govern our future superhuman gods in some decentralized way, not to put all the power to some specific person. But on the other hand, tech, I think they are completely parallel, and there's no synergy.
Yeah. AI could definitely be the guardian angel. Blockchain is definitely going to be the guardian angel for the AI. And AI in blockchain is already given. It's like trading AI and everything is already happening. Yeah.
I like the sound of guardian angel.
Yeah, for me, just two very peripheral use cases that I've seen that were very interesting. So one that directly concerns us is for AI provides the ability to evaluate risks about a transaction at a scale which can apply to our problems. And typically that's very interesting. We evaluate to work with providers of this kind of solution to enrich the security of our end users when we do that. So but that's definitely not let's say a fundamental. It's really a peripheral application of AI to blockchains. And one use case which I saw 1 month ago in San Francisco, which was really interesting, is blockchain applied as a way to distribute and share revenue generated by content providers across derivative AI. Actually, this one was really interesting. Definitely not a Ledger product. It's actually another company. It's probably around here, I would guess. But that was a very interesting application of blockchain as a way to create a fairer system that AI is actually destroying currently, which is the content creator and their motivation to actually create more content. So there's definitely some potential applications, but probably neither at the core of either technology, AI or blockchain. That's for sure. That's all.
Great.
Yeah, I also must say, sorry, the quick clarification that I didn't mean that like there are no products that both contains blockchain and AI. I was talking specifically about fusion of technologies. So, like for example, putting LLM on blockchain, or I don't know, something.
Great, great. Yeah. So, so this is time before it now. Thank you for all the panelists sharing the brilliant insights. Hope to see you guys later at another event. Yeah. Thank you.